Hey everybody, Bill and Deb.
Hi there.
Let me get in a little bit better position here. There. How's that?
It's fine with me.
Is it fine? Well, I hope it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Hey, how many of y'all down here in Florida got snow? My. And New Orleans? Holy.
Holy.
Wow. What was it? 10 inches, 10 and a half, something like that?
I believe.
Unreal.
And then Pensacola, Florida, Panama City,
I think they got
Tallahassee.
Yeah, goodness sakes. And we have a lot of friends in those areas, you know. And wow, so a lot of them been texting us, sending us photos and stuff like that. But wow.
We did not get any so far.
No.
The ice and snow was about 30 miles north of us.
Yeah, from where we are. We're about, 17, 20 miles, almost due east of Gainesville.
It rained all night long.
Yeah.
And I just knew we'd wake up this morning to ice, but so far so good.
Yeah, so far. So we were fortunate in that respect. And when I get ready to go upload this video here in a little bit, I've got to get on the road and drive about 5 miles to a sweet spot. Our upload speeds here are not all that great, and upload it, so I'm hoping that everything will be a lot better when we get there, right? And anyway, this is a painting that Deb's been working on. This is actually one you kind of redid. It's the one that goes on our headboard.
It used to be behind my bed, and I had painted that picture in 2007. And with us leaning against it and, you know, our heads rubbing on it, it was beginning to show some wear. So I decided, hey, let's do a whole new painting for our new look.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it looks pretty cool with the trees and everything and the touches of red she put in there. But we'll once we get it back up on the headboard and everything, we might include that in a video down the road, show you what it looks like.
Maybe so.
But anyway, this is another in the series of our tips and suggestions. And let me stress this again, which I will do we will in every video that we do on this. We are not telling you how to build your cargo trailer. We're simply telling you how we did it in the stages that we did it, and hopefully we don't miss anything along the way. And hopefully maybe there's something that you can glean from this that you can possibly use in your build.
And we did a video on it as we were doing it, but we thought the compressed Reader's Digest version.
Yeah. So we were taking each and trying to take it step by step to tell what we did, and we're going to try not to put too much in one video, because our plan is to have a new tips and suggestions video every Wednesday.
For a while.
Until
we run out of info.
Until we run out of, until
you know it all that we know.
Yeah. Well, some of them probably know that or more right now.
Yeah, that's possible.
So anyway, that's the gist of how this is. So be looking for that on Wednesdays, and we will start posting a link to the playlist where all of these videos are in a neat row, so you can go back and reference them. And we have already started the playlist, but we've only got like 2 videos on it right now. But we will post a link in a pinned comment, which will be the first comment in a comment thread, so that you can reference the other 2 videos to this point. And then, of course, from that point on, save that link. It'll make it real easy for you to go in and look at the string of videos that are part of our tips and suggestion series. Did that all make sense? Okay. All right. So last week we talked about the process we went through in insulating and the steps we took before we insulated the trailer, like putting up backer boards where we knew we were going to have outside fixtures, backboards for where we knew the windows were going to go, and things like that. And then we talked about the horizontal furring strips, so we could install the second layer of a 3/4 inch foam board. The first layer was 1 inch thick foam board in between the studs. The second layer was 3/4 inch foam board in between the horizontal furring strips. And we also talked about how we did the ceiling, and how we insulated it with a total of 1 3/4 inch foam board on it as well. Now we're going to talk about the interior skin and how we did it and the products that we used to do this. Because if you recall in the last video, the original interior skin, which was the 3/8 plywood done by the manufacturer, We took all that off and reused it on our secondary floor, which we covered in the previous video.
Right.
How we did that. So we went with a different kind of skin when we went back up. Now on the sidewalls, we used a product called Revolution Ply. And we did mention it briefly in the last video. At that, when I talked about that last week, and I actually showed a photo of, or a screenshot of the where you go to get it at Lowe's. I said that it was like $26, $27 a sheet. Well, evidently since then it's come down to around $21, $22 a sheet.
One more thing that we did before we went with the Revolutionary Ply.
Okay.
We took a 1x1, 1x2, and we went around and we took this as our marking stick and we marked everywhere that our
right.
Our
yeah.
those boards.
The horizontal.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So that we would, after we covered them up, we would know where they were.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we should have mentioned that in the last video. So let's talk about it now. Of course, the stick we ended up using later.
Well, yeah, but we were done with it.
It was a 1x2, and it was as tall as pretty much as tall as the outside wall was. And what we did when we got all of our horizontal strips all the way around, we went through and made a mark on the center of where every horizontal furring strip was, so that we would automatically know, like when we went to put our cabinets in or whatever, we would automatically know exactly where these horizontal furring strips were simply by laying that ledger stick up against the wall. We would know. Of course, sometimes we could, and that helped us also when we were shooting the skin onto the horizontal furring strips.
We had a reference board. We call it our reference board.
Yeah, and we saved that until after
we got the shower done.
Yeah.
We used it in there.
Yeah, we did, because we had different marks in there. But we saved that stick up until we didn't need it anymore, and then we ended up using it somewhere and got it all cut up.
I don't know if we did that or we burned it. I'm not sure.
We may have used part of it and burnt the rest. I don't know.
But anyway.
But yeah, I'm glad you thought of that, because I try to remember all these things, but I am 72 years old. But
well, we started out just keeping a list in a book, and that got
yeah.
So we made our reference stick, and that was so much easier.
Yeah, because then we would write on the reference stick, which strip, because the horizontal strips on that side might have been in a different position than the horizontal strips on this side, especially where we were going to be tacking up the end of the bed up against the wall, where we were going to be mounting the shower pan. We had an extra 1x4 horizontal furring strip right where we knew the flange was going to be on the shower pan, so we would have something solid to screw into where you got this little lip on your shower pan that comes up, where you can screw into. So we made a mark for that too.
Because once you get the walls covered, that's covered.
Right. So
that's what we did.
Yeah. So we had all those reference points, so we would know what was where, and had it all referenced on that ledger stick. Let's call it a ledger stick.
Okay.
And
all right.
Hopefully that makes everybody happy. But anyway, that's what we did. Now, the product that we used to go up on the sidewalls, like I said, was Revolution Ply. And we did that before we framed any interior walls or anything, because again, we knew where all of the horizontal furring strips were because of our ledger stick.
Right.
So then when it came to tacking cabinets on the wall, like our closets on either side of the bed, things like this, we knew where we could put a cross piece at the back of the cabinet that would be a nailer, if you will, in order to secure it to the wall.
An anchor.
Anchor, nailer.
I like anchor because it sounds stable.
So that's what we did. Now, so we got all the skin up on the walls all the way around using Revolution Ply. And the reason why we went with that, it's light, it's rigid, it takes paint well, and it's easy to work with. One sheet of that didn't weigh very much at all, but yet it didn't, it didn't do this when you went to pick it up in the middle. It was fairly rigid. So that's what we liked about it. Real nice smooth finish on it. And on the ceiling, we used a 4-inch wide, I think it was like 5/16 of an inch thick, tongue and groove paint paneling. Well, it's not a paneling.
No,
it's planks. Yeah, individual planks, roughly 4-inch wide, tongue and groove, and it was 5/16 of an inch thick. The one that we used then, I went in to look, and it's not available anymore, but there are others that have replaced it. And they're available both at the big box stores. I saw them at Menards, I saw them at Home Depot, saw them at Lowe's. So, and generally speaking, they come in 8-foot lengths, the ones that we ended up with, which made it, nicer, so you wouldn't have a joint every little bit. You can get some packaging in that stuff in like 4-foot lengths, and you can get some that's like in a 30-inch length,
Right. If you're just using it for
wainscot. Yeah. So, but we use the ones that were in 8-foot lengths, and it's 14 square feet per package, is what it adds up to, which I think is 6 planks. 6 planks. So do the math when it gets time, if you decide to go that route. Now, the reason why we went with that, there were several reasons. For one thing, the stuff was light. It weighed less than 1 pound per square foot, because I remember doing a video back on the red trailer.
And it was easier for us to do planks than it was to try to hold a whole sheet of that revolutionary plank if there were just the two of us.
That's one reason why when I was in the floor covering business, I went over to doing ceramic tile on the floor rather than doing vinyl on the floor, sheet goods, because it's a whole lot easier to take this one piece of tile and cut it to fit around a corner of a cabinet than trying to fold a 30-foot cut of vinyl all the way through the kitchen.
Right. So it was just easier for us.
We went with those planks because, just like Deb said, it was a whole lot easier to run the planks, when we ran them lengthwise in the trailer, because if you'll recall on the ceiling bows in the last video, that the furring strips on the ceiling bows went across the trailer, so we'd be able to run our planks,
and we did glue
lengthwise.
The groove. We put wood glue in the groove before we put it up to help hold it.
Just a little bit of wood glue in the groove, and of course wiped it down as we went. And before we would put a plank up, I would lay it up there, because Deb wasn't tall enough to lay it up there and look at this, so
I had a poke stick,
and I'd take a pencil, and where I was going to be laid it out, and I would make a mark everywhere where there was a furring strip running crosswise, and then on those pencil marks I would use construction adhesive and put a small bead of construction adhesive everywhere where I knew it was going to be hitting a plank. And then we shot it on with brads. With our super high dollar $35 brad nailer that we got from Harbor Freight. And still have that brad nailer, and the brad nailer works fine, and we used the heck out of it.
Yes,
and for what we did here, that brad nailer, we also have a staple gun too that we got at Harbor Freight that shoots the 1/4-inch wide staples, and it was about $35. And as long as you lubricate them properly and take care of them, they'll last a long time. And we carry them with us everywhere we go.
Yep, still got them.
Yeah. And they
for
were
the next
fantastic.
project.
And man, I can't imagine how many brads and staples went through those
about
guns.
100 pounds.
Yeah. But anyway, that's how we installed both we did the same method on the walls with the
Revolution Prime.
Revolution Ply. Thank you, dear. The same method with the glue and the brads as we did on the ceiling with the glue and the brads. When we were going to be shooting the paneling up on the walls where we knew it would be covered up, like where Deb put wallpaper, which is almost every wall in the house.
Yeah.
We used the staples instead of the brad nails because they just simply hold a whole bunch better. Anyway, that's what we did, and it worked out very, very well. Now we've got all the skin up on the inside. We've got the ceiling up on the inside. We've got the whole thing insulated. Then we started framing.
Before we framed, we went down and got Kills paint.
There you go.
And I wherever we were going to be working, I painted that section with Kills mildew whatever paint. Maybe it helped. I knew it might not help, but it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. And that's why I have her, because she's remembering all these little things in between. That,
well, because that's what I did.
Yeah, she's the painter.
So we painted whatever section we was going to work on the next day. Then
Right.
we started framing.
Yes, and now we started out framing the bed frame itself. We had figured out where it was going to be. Little things that we went ahead and installed when we framed the bed frame. The bed frame is 24 inches high, and we did it out of 2x2s. And the way we framed the walls on it is the same way you'd frame a house. We used 2x2s for our studs, and then we had a 1x2 top plate and a 1x2 bottom plate. And then we laid all these walls up and shot them together in the corners, and we had interior partitions too, because there's 3 separate compartments underneath the bed. One compartment is where the battery bank is, another compartment is where the water pump and the fresh water tank is, which is in the middle of the trailer. The fresh water tank's in the middle of the trailer, and it's also right over the axle center line. Before I go any further, and we had to discuss this before, I went through and sealed between the battery bank and the where the fresh water tank goes, just in case there was some kind of a leak that would come along. Plus, all the components for the battery bank are mounted, like the battery itself is mounted on blocks that lift it up off of the floor, and all of the components are mounted on the walls inside up off of the floor. There's nothing mounted to the floor, okay, where all of the components are for the battery bank. But I also went in and put a dam, if you will, between the 2 areas, and then ran Lexel to seal all that as well. So
But
just so you'll know.
as we were framing the bed, because there's certain components in there that we knew someday we might have to replace,
Yeah.
we didn't use the air compressor for those things. We used screws, because that way we could quickly remove the screws off of certain boards and pull the tank,
Right.
water tank, or hot water, the water heater out if we had to.
Now back to the framing of the walls, though. Before we move on, we had a bottom plate and a top plate. Then when we tacked all of the walls together and had them all square with each other, both this way and this way, then we came back and ran another 1x2 on the top, which is the way you would do in a house, in a 2x4 if you're framing interior walls, if you're framing them out of 2x4s, and ran another top plate that ran all the way across and tied in to all of the exterior walls around it and everything. And that's what makes it strong, is by tying it all in like this. Then, like Deb said, we had little interior walls that we framed, especially where the freshwater tank and the gray tank goes, and the waste tank, I need to call it. The waste tank is on the driver's side under the bed, and it's basically under our pillows is where it's at. But the freshwater tank sits here. The gray tank is offset a little like that. And right in front of the gray tank is where the water heater is mounted. Okay, and it's under my pillow. I'm not worried about it. It's under my pillow.
It hasn't done anything yet.
No. Yeah.
It's been there since May of 21.
But we can inspect it very easily, which we
Yes.
do on a fairly regular basis. But that's how we got everything fitted in there and made it all work. Basically, the brains of the trailer is all under the bed. And but anyway, that's the way we framed the bed, and we used 2x2s to try to keep the weight down. I've seen a lot of people go ahead and just use regular 2x4s and things like that. But you can build especially in this situation, a small compartment, you can build a strong 2x2 wall. You may even have to go in and use gussets if you're a little concerned, but I didn't use gussets. Now, what a gusset would be is imagine taking a 2x4 and cutting off the end of it at a 45-degree angle. Then you've got this little 45-degree board, like this, and then you put it on the inside corner, either on the, you can put it, on the top or on the bottom, and glue and screw it into your framework, and then that will make it even stronger. And they use gussets in a lot of lightweight builds, from airplanes to, home built airplanes to all kinds of stuff. But we didn't have to worry about that too much, because when we put this we skinned it all the way around on the outside, that gave it that strength that a gusset would give it as well. You know, so anyway, that's the way we did all that. We only have one interior wall in the trailer, and the interior wall is between the bathroom and the rest of the house, if you will. And that wall, it housed electric lines, and also houses plumbing in there too. And what we did on that wall, because we knew we was going to have all that stuff in there and we had the room to do it, that wall was made roughly about 6 inches wide. You remember that part?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say 5, but I wasn't
Well,
going
it's
to argue
5 or
with you.
6 inches.
I wasn't going to argue with you. We made it. He took out some of my valuable space.
Yeah. Wow. But anyway, and the way we did our studs, if you will, we took 1x2s for our, well, let me back up on that. We used 2x2s for a stud, but imagine we're building a ladder this time. Each stud was built like a ladder. Each stud was built like a ladder. Your 2x2s were your rungs that went back and forth. You know, we had one on the very bottom, one on the very top, and then we had them spaced out. And then you had a 1x2 on each side. Now you have a fairly strong stud. And then I built, I think there's like 4 or 5 in that wall back there. And you're probably looking at a picture of the wall. And you probably have seen, or you're looking at pictures of the way it was framed, and it'll help you understand it better. But that allowed me to have strength in that. Plus, it allowed plenty of room to run plumbing through without having to drill a bunch of holes, and it was still light. And the way we gave it the strength is when we put a plate on the top, and then, of course, the way we secured it to the floor on the bottom. And then, because we have a 3-foot opening between the bedroom, if you will, and the bathroom, there's a 1x6 there on the front part. So that's what gave it its strength. Plus, on the very back stud, the one that actually went against the wall, and here's where this ledger stick came in handy, we also put 1x2s on the flat running crosswise in there, and then we lined them up where they would line up with the furring strips that was behind the skin. And then when we screwed through that backer that was on the very back stud, it could go right from there right into the wall, and that gave it all kinds of strength. You can't budge that wall, yet it's very light. And the only place that we used 1/2-inch plywood on this trailer is on where we skinned it on the side that faces the bed. That is 1/2-inch plywood there. And we did that for strength because, well, and also because we knew that we would be screwing in Deb's closet up against that wall on that side. Now that skin on the bed side of that wall is in 2 pieces. The top piece is white, the bottom piece, no, let me back up.
He's staring at it.
I'm looking at it. The top piece is red, the bottom piece is white. The top piece that's red is pretty much shot on. It's there. Now we do have an inspection cover that we put there that is directly opposite of the shower fitting. So if we ever need to go in there and work on that or replace it, all we got to do is pop that inspection cover off and we have full access to that. The white portion of that wall is screwed on. And if we ever need to gain access to any of that plumbing that's running through the walls right there, or the electrical, it all runs down low. We remove the trim, which is screwed on, and we remove the white board there, and that all comes off, and then we have full access to the plumbing in that wall. So that's how we did that. Now the shower pan, we used a 4-foot shower. I know I'm talking fast, but I'm wanting to cover a lot and try to get through it as soon as I can. But the shower pan, we knew that we were going to be elevating the bathroom floor 6 inches off of the standard floor because we utilized a what they call a shower pump that actually, when the shower water drains into the pump, It has a float switch in there. It picks that up and then pumps it up into the waste tank, which is, underneath the bed. So it's going from here to here. It's pumping it from here to here. We mounted our tanks inside because we wanted larger capacity tanks that you can't mount outside underneath it. And we didn't want the tanks outside hanging down and have a greater chance of them possibly freezing. And you're saying, well, you guys go to Florida in this wintertime. Hey.
Oh, wow.
They could have froze last night. So that's why we put our tanks inside, so we could lessen the chances of those kind of things happening. So that's why we utilized the shower pump system. And we've done a video about that, and we'll probably cover that when we get to that point in the build.
When we get to plumbing.
Yeah, when we get to plumbing. So, anything else that I need to mention? Because that's basically what we did to that point.
We got it ready. Basically, we're now ready to run plumbing, which is next week's video, I guess.
Yeah, next week's video we'll be talking about plumbing and basic electrical and things like that, which we'll cover then. But what a lot of people don't know is when we were doing this, we were trying to get this to the point as soon as possible that we could sleep in here and take a shower.
Yes.
And go to the bathroom.
We had an emergency bucket once we moved.
Right, and we started out with just a bucket. Yeah, and so that was why we did this that way. So, we started living in this shortly after the stuff that we completed in this video that we're talking about today, right now.
Yes.
The only other thing that we did, which we'll cover in the next video before we actually started living in here, is we did basic plumbing, and we had a lot of shut-off valves here and there because we knew there was going to be sinks here and stuff like that.
So we did plumbing, and we did an emergency way to get a drop cord in so we could have lights. Because we didn't have anything else going in here.
Just basic power, just so we could have table lamps.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and we lived that way for 2 or 3 months, sort of.
I don't remember.
So yeah, that's what we did. But so we didn't have any of the. Well, we'll go into that later.
Yes.
But we're going to got you to that point right there. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and put them in the comments. Please put stuff in the comments. And if it's something that we'll be talking about in the next video or the video after that, we may just say stay tuned for the next video and we'll cover that subject. Or if it's something that pertains to the basic stuff that we talked about today, we'll go ahead and answer those questions. But we're going to try to cover every little bit for those people that have questions. And like I say, we're going to work real hard on trying to get one out every Wednesday, which we'll release at 6:30 Wednesday evening. Right now it's releasing at 6:30 Eastern time, which means it'll be 5:30 Central time and 4:30 whatever the other time is, Mountain time.
Mountain.
Yeah. I'm so confused over all that stuff. But when we get back into Central time, we'll be releasing at 6:30 Central time, but we'll let you know and keep you informed as we go. But anyway, so for a while here, every Wednesday, we're going to try real hard to have the next step in what we did. And hopefully what we talked about today and some of the photos that we included in it will help you. And
we did in-depth videos as we were doing it.
Yeah, we probably could have done more in-depth than what we did.
We were in a hurry.
But we were in a hurry. And so we're going to try to, cover a little bit of time. Plus, the way I'm looking at it too, this will be an easier reference for everybody. They'll have a set list of videos to reference, by doing it this way. So we're going to shut it off right there. Be watching for the next one next week, and that's when we'll talk about basic plumbing and basic electrical, right? And probably a few other things tossed in there as well. But remember the ledger stick thing. And I had forgotten about the ledger stick thing. But remember that because that will sure help you.
It came in so handy.
if you have these hidden which will end up being hidden furring strips later. All right. Anyway, I hope y'all are enjoying this cold weather.
Yeah.
And I know we are.
Not.
It's not why we came here. But things should start improving by latter part of the weekend. So we're looking forward to that. Y'all take care. This is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures. You know exactly what we're going to say. We're not camping.
We are living.
Y'all get out there and do some living. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.